Love others as well as you love yourself. Welcome to the weddings. This is the story of the wedding banquet. It's Matthew 22. Jesus responds by telling still more stories. God's kingdom is like a king who threw a wedding banquet for his son. He sent out all the servants to call in all the invited guests, and they wouldn't come. So he sent out another round of servants, instructing them to tell the guests, look, everything is on the table. The prime rib is ready for carving. Come and join the feast. They only shrugged their shoulders and they went off. One went to weed his garden, another went back to work at his shop, and the rest, with nothing better to do, beat up on the messengers and then killed them. The king was outraged and sent his soldiers to destroy those thugs and level their city. Then he told his servants, we have a wedding banquet, all prepared but no guests. The ones I invited weren't up to it. Go out into the busiest intersections in town and invite anyone you find to the banquet. The servants went out onto the streets and rounded up everyone they laid eyes on, good and bad, regardless. So the banquet was on and everyone's place was filled. So whilst the A-list didn't make it, the guests are finally in their place. It's Matthew 22, it's verse 11, and Jesus is still telling the story about the wedding banquet. So when the king entered and looked around the scene, he spotted a man who wasn't properly dressed. He said to him, friend, how dare you come in here looking like that? The man was obviously speechless. Then the king told this to his servants, get him out of here, fast. Tie him up, ship him to hell, and make sure he doesn't get back in. You were accordingly invited to the wedding banquet. The A-listers never made it and the king dealt with it. He extended the invitation to everyone else. Well, Jesus gives the explanation in Matthew 22 verse 14. That's what I mean when I say many get invited, but only a few make it. So then the Pharisees plotted a way to trap him into saying something damaging. They sent their disciples with few of Herod's followers mixed in to ask, Teacher, we know you have integrity. Teach the way of God accurately and are indifferent to popular opinion and don't pander to your students. So tell us honestly, is it right to pay taxes to Caesar? Why are you playing these games with me? Why are you trying to trap me? Do you have a coin? This engraving, who does it look like and whose name is on it? They said, Caesar. Then give to Caesar what is his and give to God what is God's. The Pharisees were speechless. They went off shaking their head. The same day, the Sadducees approached him. This was the party that denied the possibility of the resurrection. They asked, Teacher, Moses said that if a man dies childless, his brother is obligated to marry his widow and father a child with her. Well, here's a case for you. Where there are 7 brothers, the first brother married and died, leaving no children, and his wife was passed on to his brother. The second brother also left her childless. Then the third, the fourth, on and on till we get to the 7th. Eventually the wife died. Now, here's the question. Whose wife is she? She was a wife to each of them. Jesus answers in Matthew 22, verse 29. You're off base on 2 counts. You don't know what God said. And you don't know how God works. Clearly, at the resurrection, we're beyond marriage. As with the angels, all our ecstasies and intimacies, then we'll be with God. And regarding your speculation on whether the dead are raised or not, don't you read your Bibles? The grammar, it's pretty clear. God says, I am, not was, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. The living God defines himself, not as a God of dead men, but of the living. Hearing this exchange, the crowd was much impressed. When the Pharisees heard how he had bested the Sadducees, they gathered their forces for an assault. One of the religion scholars spoke for the rest of them, posing a question they hoped would show him up. Teacher, which command in God's law is the most important one? Well, he gives his answer in Matthew 22, verse 34. Love the Lord your God with all your passion and prayer and intelligence. This is the most important, the first on any list. But there is a second to set alongside it. Love others as well as you love yourself. These two commands are pegs. Everything in God's law and the prophets hang from these. As the Pharisees were regrouping, Jesus caught him off balance with his own testing question. Hey, what do you think about the Christ? Whose son is he? They said, it's David's son. Well, if the Christ is David's son, how do you explain that David, under inspiration, named Christ his master? God said to my master, sit here on my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. Now, if David calls him master, how can he at the same time be his son? So this is the climax of Matthew 22, and in verse 46, the Pharisees have to admit defeat. It goes on. That stumped them. Literalists they were, unwilling to risk losing face again in one of these public verbal exchanges. They quit asking questions for good. So what do we learn from Matthew 22? Well, Jesus showcased his profound wisdom and his command of scriptures. He highlighted the essence of the gospel, the invitation to partake in God's kingdom. He told you to honor God and illustrated the reality of the resurrection, the love of God's law and its fulfillment, and Jesus' divine messianic role to heed God's invitation, live responsibly, understand life beyond death, love God and others, and acknowledge Him, Jesus as Lord. Keep up the positive.